What's going on, RestoMods Nation? Mike and Chris here, and the Barrett-Jackson auto auction is going on this week, and we had the opportunity to speak with a very important individual in the automotive industry. Chris, do you want to tell them who it is?
Yeah, absolutely. We got to talk to Craig Jackson, who's the CEO and chairman of Barrett-Jackson. He's been doing this for decades. He's one of the biggest personalities in the car space. So we got a chance to talk to Craig about his favorite RestoMods he's built, the online auction, how all that's going to work, and all the logistics involved in getting all the cars together and getting all the bidders together and then getting cars to bidders. And we also talked about the crazy charity car they have, which is an unreal opportunity for someone to own. Just an amazing piece of automotive history. So enough out of me. Listen to Craig explain it here. Tons going on, so we wanted to just kind of jump right into it. We know that you guys are right now in the middle of kind of a historic ground with an online-only auction of Barrett-Jackson. Now, I've watched your intro video, so I know it's not the first time you guys have done this, but sort of the first time in recent memory, especially for me. I can't remember an online-only auction for Barrett-Jackson. Obviously, when we're there is online bidding happening in conjunction with the live bidding. So can we talk a little bit about what you guys have going on this week and how long it's going on and how it's going?
So sure. So as you talked about, we did do this back in, we started the project in 99, and in 2000 and 2001, we did online auctions in conjunction with Speed Vision and Hemmings as a partnership. And it was way too far ahead of its time. But we started working throughout the time on what were the problems with it. One was how you vet the cars. Two was technology. Back then, you had dial-up internet, and you're trying to teach people how to upload digital photos before these had been invented.
Oh yeah, sure.
So part of it, we've worked through our team of experts, how we vet the cars, and how we did that with our internal portal, how we show them all the stuff before we post the cars to the website, so that they could do the first, as we see, sort of screening process, getting out all the big rocks, the ones that we know aren't right, or at least having people change their car descriptions. Then when the cars come on site, we delve into it much closer. So we are doing that in the virtual world nowadays. We had some of the cars shipped in, some of them my experts looked at, a lot of them we took very detailed photographs, put them into the portal for our experts to look at. They would tell us what other photos they want or video they want. And they've got some pretty unique ways that they do things. Now, many of them are the absolute experts. And I say that because they've written the books, or they're the NCRS top flight main judge, or they have the database that came from the factory. So a lot of them really have multiple things to go to help vet the cars. That's what's different. Now, we were planning on launching this anyhow. It's just this made it have to happen a lot quicker. And the reason why is a lot of people want to do stuff with us between auctions. So we've had our showroom. And we realized we're selling 95% of the cars in our showroom off the internet anyhow. So why don't we just put it in an auction format, and a lot of the cars that we already had for the Vegas auction, or not for Vegas, for Palm Beach, why don't we just start an online auction? And we set a goal of 75 cars, something that we could vet the cars and go through them. We ended up with a little over 85 cars, plus our automobilia. Now, this thing will probably keep evolving as time goes on, as we develop more and better software to deal with it. But part of why I am doing these live updates is to answer people's questions they have about cars and get our experts involved. So it's really what we do at the auctions with our seminars in the morning for first timers, and a lot of the elements at the live auction, putting it all together in an all online auction. Long answer, but that's the history from 2000 to now.
That's great. Yeah, that's actually exactly what we were looking for, that long answer. Another quick question on that is, how's the format working and how many lots are there for this online-only auction? Are the lots open for the entire duration of the time period, or is it more traditional Barrett-Jackson where a car comes up on the block, bidding action happens, and that car is either sold or not in a certain time period?
So the first one, we're doing a fixed time-based, which is what we used to do back in 2000. So it's a 1 week basically window. Okay. And we wrote back in actually 95 when I wrote the first streaming software for doing internet auctions. The only reason we stopped doing that in-house is just the latency and having people that have the proprietary backbone. So we've used Proxybid to help us with that. So in this, we're using their time-based auction, but we're trying to adapt it. And I would say I'm probably pushing the envelope on technology again as to how I want that Barrett-Jackson experience to be. Part of that is the bidding will come to when it ends on Friday for the 100 lot cars. We'll do a live show in the morning, teeing that up. Saturday, we will do the same thing when we sell the charity car. The car that Richard Childress donated, the Dale Earnhardt Sr. winning NASCAR. So that will add a little bit more of the live element to it, but stay tuned for what we do the next, as this thing keeps progressing. We will keep adding to this and making it more like a real Barrett-Jackson auction, because none of us know how long this is actually going to go on for. You know, we're starting to open up here, sort of slowly, but it's going to probably be a little while until you see those massive crowds all together again, until everybody feels safe to do that again.
Yeah, sure. You touched on something there that we definitely want to talk about, which is your charity car and your charity angle. I mean, you guys have donated over the years in Barrett-Jackson a staggering amount to charity. I want to just off the top of my head say it's 130 something million.
I think it's 126 or 127 now, somewhere in there.
Either way, a staggering number.
It is a staggering number. It's not our money. We donate all the fees, but my bidders and the auto manufacturers donating the VIN number ones has brought some real great moments at Barrett-Jackson for a lot of great charities. This one's no different. Richard Childress called us and said, I'm just heartbroken watching the news and seeing all those lines at the food banks. And so his first charity he wanted to do was Feeding America, but then also looking at what's happening in New York and the temporary hospital that they built in Central Park. And so that charity is the other one, Samaritan's Purse. So he really cares a lot about America and wanting to help. And we said, absolutely, let's do this.
What a fantastic thing. That's incredibly really cool. Generous of him. And so talking about the actual car, this is a Dale Earnhardt Sr. driven NASCAR. And I think I heard somewhere along the way that it's actually a race winner.
It is a race winner. So, and it still has the original drivetrain in the car. He couldn't say whether it's the exact engine when it won Rockingham, but it is the way when he got out of the car, that's the engine and drivetrain that was in the car. They just freshened the car. It's been parked for all these years, so they wanted to make sure it ran and everything was to his liking. So whoever buys it, it's a turnkey, get in it, fire it up, real Dale Earnhardt Sr. winning NASCAR out of his personal collection. First time he's ever sold a car out of his personal collection.
What an incredible opportunity.
And that's 100% going to charity.
100%. We make no money on it. We pass it right through. You'll write your check to the two charities that I just mentioned.
It's incredible. And on top of that, I just wanted to ask, for people out there who want to bid and want to get involved, how would you go about registering to bid on one of these cars and buy a car?
Go to Barrett-Jackson.com. You're on the web page. Go to the upper corner. You'll see a register for, or you can go to the car description page and you can hit the bid now and it'll run you to, there's multiple ways when you're on the website to register to bid. You can also old-fashioned way, you can just call us and we can walk you through the process. But people nowadays are pretty used to using computers and apps. So
Sure.
It's come a long ways in 20 years.
So hit the webpage, register, and you're good to go.
You're good to go. You have to put a deposit down so we're sure that it's not people at home just playing games. And the thing is about a Barrett-Jackson auction, we're in the middle of the transaction, which makes it very unique from other online platforms. We are doing exactly what we do at a live auction, just in a complete internet version.
Very cool. And so I also know, obviously no one knows what's going to happen with COVID and with large events and government regulations and everything like that. But I do also know that next year is your 50th anniversary. And are there still plans in place to be able to be doing live events by then? Because I know that would just be, I mean, something incredible. I've been to several of your events, and I can just imagine what the 50th anniversary would look like.
We're hoping that we will be back up and running. You know, we just canceled Mohegan Sun. It just didn't seem right. In fact, when you look at the map, even on the news this morning, they showed the rest of the nation red, and you saw the little white at Providence, Rhode Island, and Connecticut that still haven't opened. So it just didn't seem right to hold it there. Mohegan Sun's not even open. On the flip side, the other side of the country here, it hasn't hit us nearly as hard. Vegas will reopen, so our first live auction will be in Vegas. And I think we'll learn a lot then as to how social distancing will work. But I think the first few auctions, we will probably cut way back on general public, so the bidders and consigners feel like they have room to move around. And until we get to where this thing's not as contagious, I think that's going to be the status quo. But that doesn't mean that we can't enjoy our cars. Especially, I've got a lot of my best customers like, I can't wait to get together again. Well, even when we do, it's going to be a little different until they get a vaccine, until this passes. But people want to get back together. Part of Barrett-Jackson is it's not just the buying and the selling of the car, it's the camaraderie. It is the social aspect. And the second they ease the restrictions here, everybody was out. Last night was the first night for people to go to restaurants. And even if it's under new rules, you couldn't get a table here in Scottsdale. So
one thing we wanted to ask you about was us being RestoMods, some of the trends that you've seen over the years, maybe the last 5-10 years of RestoMods coming through your auction, and how have those trends kind of changed over the years? Have you seen more?
I think the data shows you that. I mean, some of the highest priced cars, our highest priced car in Palm Beach last year was that Buick RestoMod.
Yeah.
Which was not a normal type, what everybody would think RestoMod. But RestoMods, everybody sort of thinks they're Camaros or they're, Mustangs. But, there's whole companies out there now building RestoMods, whether it's Broncos,
Sure.
Blazers. It is a wide assortment, but it's even into Europe, resto-modding Porsches and E-Type Jaguars. It's a worldwide phenomenon. It's everything, every car that you wanted as a kid, but you go and buy that favorite car of yours, and I'm guilty of this too. And then you drive it and you go, it doesn't drive as well as I remember.
I dreamed
Well,
this
it drives
way
exactly
better than it
the way it did back then. And I have, in my personal collection where we're here, some of the world's greatest muscle cars, but I also have RestoMods because I like to drive my cars. And one we just did at Scottsdale was taking the Too Fast, Too Furious famous car and picking the body up and dropping it on a Roadster shop chassis, brand new LT engine in it. So, 6-speed. And now it's a drivable car while leaving the car basically intact. The Corvettes have been a real phenomena, and we have some great ones in the online auction. A Jeff Hayes built car. He's rung the bell at Barrett-Jackson many times with his builds. And now you're getting
I saw that in your video, the I think it was a 67, I believe, that white one.
Red interior.
The red leather interior.
Yeah, beautiful car, beautiful build.
Now you're getting names like Art Morrison. People know what that means, who the chassis builder is. And now with our experts, we actually have an expert in RestoMods. And people would be like, well, it's not numbers matching. What do you need that for? You know how many guys we have to tell that, the components he thought he bought aren't the components in there? Well, the guy changed the intake. It didn't come with a tune port on it when it was brand new. That's actually an old ZZ engine that somebody just updated. That's not, an LT or whichever it is. So we go through for two things. What are the components and what's the workmanship, how it's all put together? And we want people when they buy these cars, especially RestoMods, that they can take them out and use them. Now, we don't take them out and torture test them, but we do take them from when they come in the intake. We look at them, we take them, we drive them, we park them. And if we find discrepancies in what they're saying, then we change the car description.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. So I'm not sure how much you know about us. We are restomods.com. We do give away a classic RestoMod every 3 months or so. We're actually sitting in front of a 1971 Chevelle that we'll be giving away next month. That's got an LS1 in it with a, what does it have, an LSA?
LSA supercharger?
Yeah, so it's definitely upgraded. It's got QA1 suspension all the way around, modern suspension, modern interior, modern seats, modern power plant, classic 71 Chevelle styling. So very much picking up what you're putting down on that, and we appreciate what you guys have done for the RestoMods scene. We've seen a ton of great cars cross the block with you guys.
Yeah.
And then I think we had some questions, personal type questions.
One thing I wanted to ask you, being a man who at his disposal, you could pretty much have any car or drive any car that you're at your,
anything.
Anything. How do you wake up in the morning and choose what car that you're going to drive? Say you have a meeting 20 miles away. Which keys are you looking at, and how do you make that choice?
All depends on the weather.
Oh, I like that. Okay. So in Arizona, you got lots of sun.
A lot of sun, so I have.
Okay.
My cars are broken into two sort of batches. We're here at my family office, which is also where my man cave is, but I keep 20 cars at the house. I keep 50 here, call it. I have my personal shop, and so I drive one car into work. I usually drive one car home, and I rotate them. So I like to drive convertibles when the weather is very nice. I like to exercise all my cars. My cars actually get used. I'm not a big proponent of trailer queens. So
exactly.
So that's cool. That's good to hear that, everything's getting driven, and we're cycling through that. That's
we cycle through them. So that's part of it. And then it's, if I have something coming up like a road rally or something, then whatever car or cars I'm going to drive, I want to take them out, I want to use them. But we also have a sort of a schedule that we take the cars out and at least drive them a mile or two. So every day the cars are getting exercised. And when I want to drive a car, I want to drive a car. I have a sheet when I drive a car when it comes back, and it doesn't matter. Always I've got some sort of gig on the car.
very cool.
XM turned off in a car or something else because I hadn't driven it in 3 months. And even though I'm paying the subscription, it's stupid little stuff. But I try to take the cars out, enjoy them. And then if it's a longer trip, then I just took one of my RestoMods that was done probably 20 years ago apart, and we are updating it. So that was a 67 Shelby GT 500 that somebody put years ago, one of the first all aluminum 427 engines in it with Carol's blessing, took the 428 out, put a 5-speed in it. But now technology's gotten a lot better. So now we're going back through the car and updating it. And I'm taking the 2 4-barrels off, putting 2 Holley fuel injection units on it, converting a lot of the suspension, updating it, and changing the geometry of the way the seats and the pedals work so it's more comfortable to drive. So I'm about driving the cars, and when I drive them, I like to be comfortable. Yep. And I'm part owner of a track out here, and I like to drive my cars out to the track, run them around the track, and then drive them back home.
Sounds like a dream to me.
That sounds like a dream for sure.
That's what I'm not, running auctions. That's what I do. I have 3 shops. I have one shop that is basically a service center. Then I have the full frame off restoration for building RestoMods at our corporate office. Jason Aker, he works in there. He runs that shop. He used to run the Fast and Loud shop for Richard. And then my family office here, I have my own shop where we just work on my cars. And this is primarily just the maintenance and keeping them all and changing the fluids and my little gig list. So it all depends. We work on people's cars. So when we sell you a car, if it's got some problems with it or you want to upgrade something, we address it up front. And I think that gives us a leg up. We really are into cars and we understand cars. And if somebody has a problem with a car at an auction, we can usually diagnose it. It's either a problem we got to address or it's a pity little thing. A light comes on, we'll plug it in and go, that's an easy code to clear. It hasn't been driven in a while. Take it out and drive it and the oxygen sensor will come back, or mass air fuel sensor, something. We understand these. We've been in the RestoMods since they started.
And my dad used to take me to these car shows, and he was more into the numbers matching stuff. He bought a beautiful 57 Cadillac from a Barrett-Jackson, a few other cars, and I always loved the styling of the cars, but numbers matching doesn't mean anything to me. I wasn't alive when that car came out. Numbers matching really, other than the value that is there, it doesn't mean anything to me. And I'm more, the practical side of me doesn't really care. And it's, hey, I want to go fast. I want to be safe. I want to stop. I want to be comfortable. I want to listen to my music. I want to have my Bluetooth phone. So when I hop in, and like any modern car. And so I think that's kind of a perspective on, I don't want to call myself younger because I'm kind of getting up there as well. But the younger audience, I think they could care less about matching numbers.
Absolutely. But even boomers, you go between, like myself, numbers matching, restored a couple of Shelbys, the Green Hornet, Little Red, and the amount of research. And we did a 65 Shelby down to NOS tires. I mean, we had everything but NOS air in the thing. I mean, it was the fuel, the air cleaner element, the oil filter, not just a NOS, the one that went down the assembly line. And when you get into restoring cars like that, there's assembly line parts and then there's NOS that you get from a dealership. So we've been through that crazy numbers game. And after that, you know what I decided? I'm going to build another Little Red that I can actually go out and drive. And I'm going to take my 67 RestoMod and take it to the next level where I can take it out and drive it and it's comfortable. And I think that you can have both. I love the great muscle cars because that's what I, grew up with. My brother being 14 years older than me, I was at the drag strips when these cars were new. I was cruising central in the back seat like American Graffiti. I was the little kid that they were taking care of. So I relate to them, but I love the technology. And the technology keeps getting better. We started going to SEMA almost 30 years ago. When we were at SEMA, we were the oddballs. Everything then was, not towards the older cars, but just brand new. Now you go to SEMA and you see so many great older cars, and you get the Ring brothers building these great cars, and amazing cars, and the workmanship. And it goes back, and I've been saying this for a long time, and it's that fine line between a custom and a RestoMod. But the more work that's done on a car that you really can't tell, but every inch of it's been massaged. Like some of the cars Ring brothers have cut down the middle and widened the car and put it back together. Something like that. They didn't. They widened the middle of the car.
It's small things, but it's really big work.
It's really big work. All the billet work, all those fine details. And that's when I was profiling with Jeff Hayes' car. When you look at the workmanship that's put into there, and you first look at it, you don't notice it. But when you really start looking at the car, every single inch of that car has been massaged. But when somebody just looks at it, it looks like, it's a cool old vet. But you're driving around in something that, to me, is a one-off piece of art that is nowadays. And I think the other TV shows of what Foose has done and Boyd Coddington when he was around, TV cars are different because, they're built in 6 weeks and take 6 months to get them where they drive.
Yeah, we've heard some stories.
Real RestoMods are made to be taken out and driven. And I think with what the Roadster shop's done with their chassis and Art Morrison's done with their chassis, and now with the OEMs and all the other plugins that just plug and play together makes it so much simpler. And you can have some dependability in these cars. To your earlier question, I love getting a car and taking it out and actually driving it. And I don't feel bad that if I'm going outside of that, say, radius of where I know I'm in civilization, or I know where I can get 110 octane, that whatever fuel I run into,
Right.
it's mapped, it'll figure it out, and we can drive it. I know it's dependable. That's the beauty of a RestoMod. It's comfortable, it stops. I can listen to XM radio, I can sync my phone up to it. It's got all the modern creature comforts in an old looking body, but everything has been customized to what you want. And that's why we sell them at Barrett-Jackson. We started selling them about 05, and back then we were criticized for it, but you got to be a trend leader in everything. With our online auction, I'm seeing, we got some great RestoMods in there, and they're not all one genre. So you see them across all different types of genres of cars, because that's what people want. It's whatever your taste is, we'll have something for you.
I love it. Well, we did a little preview and kind of went through some of the highlights. We do a live every other week, and so we scrolled through some of the cars, and you guys definitely have some great stuff. And again, I just want to thank you for your time, and thank you, Barrett-Jackson as a whole, for being out there for the car community and doing the online auction and just being a pioneer and getting people back together.
Well, that's our goal, and that's what I'm trying to do. You can watch us on YouTube or Facebook Live. 11:30 on Friday Pacific time, 11:30 Saturday, and at 12 o'clock on Saturday Pacific time is when we'll sell the Dale Earnhardt car. So your little slice of Barrett-Jackson in the virtual world, as we're all coming together virtually.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. We'll be watching, and I know everybody else out there will be watching as well. So thank you again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Be safe.
Great
You
luck
too.
with the auction.